You're listening to the Vendor's Daughter podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Calderon, also known as the Vendor's Daughter. I started this podcast about 7 years into working at my family's business. At the time, and really ever since, I've been geeking out on two main topics: self-improvement and business growth and development. I firmly believe that the healthier we are, both mentally and physically, the better we show up for ourselves, our lives, and our businesses. So, on the show, we talk a lot about things like a positive mindset, why what you eat matters, why it's important to move your body, and how a gratitude practice can change your life. And because growing a business is my favorite topic ever, we also interview entrepreneurs from various fields so that they can share how they grew their business. Which means along the way, we'll also talk about things like email list, growing an Instagram, and knowing when it's time to hire your next employee. You guys, the only thing I might like to talk about more than business is coffee. I love coffee. So grab a fresh cup and listen in as we deep dive into all the things. Kate, thank you so much for being on the show. For everyone out there listening and watching, would you mind introducing yourself and a little bit about your company?
Yes. So, hi, everyone. My name is Kate Hancock. Thank you for inviting me in this podcast. I'm a
Yeah.
serial entrepreneur. I started with e-commerce and I own a medical spa in Orange County. I also own a boutique hotels in Asia. And I am a co-founder of a media company with my husband and some other companies in the metaverse. So running different businesses.
Oh my goodness, I feel like there's so much in that. So I I found you through another podcast that I listened to, and on that I heard you talk about owning the spa and then also owning the property in Asia. And what struck me as like, holy moly, not only is this woman just killing it and firing on all cylinders, but you mentioned that you set up the whole hotel Airbnb experience completely remote. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct. I actually just started with a small, it was just a tiki hat for myself to use every time I would visit home. So one day I started listing it through Airbnb and I've noticed I'm booked 6 months in advance. So I built more rooms underneath it and then more rooms. Is like, hey, I have a business here because I keep on declining guests and eventually I ran out of space because I wasn't planning it as a business, right?
Right?
I decided to acquire another property up in the mountains where I can build more rooms and run retreats. So then it's a bigger property. So it ended to be a full scale boutique hotel, and we've been featured in a lot of local TVs there, press, and we dominate the influencer marketing. That's basically how
Nice.
we did. So we even have a waiting list. This is before pandemic for people to get in. So definitely a good market for us to dive in. But I was very strategic about it. I started small, and as soon as I get traction, then I focus and put gas pedal on it.
I love that. And what struck me as just like, wow, about that is I know a lot of times the women who listen to this show, they have a hard time delegating. They have a hard time trusting other people to do things. They don't know necessarily what it feels like to work on the business and not in the business. And so when you said that you got this started and you hadn't even been there yet, I was just like, what in the world is she doing? This is amazing. And so, what is it like? Like, do you have any tips for kind of managing large teams? You just listed four businesses at least that you have. There's no way you can be everywhere at once. So, what is it like to build a team, to trust other people? What are your tips, your secrets, all the
Yeah,
things?
absolutely. And it's very common for being an entrepreneur. You want to control everything. You have this mindset that if I'm doing it, it's better than someone else doing it. No one can build it or do it better than me. But
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're limiting yourself. You're only going to be good as your hand can reach. So you yourself can do 100%, but if you hire people that can do 80%, so 80 times 4, that's way more than what you're capable of doing, right?
I love
So
it.
how I build the resort remotely from 7,000 miles away, basically I just utilized Facebook Messenger, and I would draw the design. I send it to the staff. I don't like it. Sometimes it's not perfect because I was very involved with the design. This is how I like, because I love to travel, so it has to be very specific. And Jennifer, the funny thing is they've been operating for about 2 years. I've never seen the place, so I invited a lot of my friends for the first time for Dan and I. My husband got married, and I told my friends, okay, by the way, I've never seen this place. We're gonna see it for the first time together. As soon as we landed, I was like, wow, they did a great job. I'm actually so that was, you know, how, I mean, is that really attainable? Yes, but it took me a lot of level of maturity as a leader, as an entrepreneur. I think building a really solid culture to your team, treating your team, right, by making them feel appreciated,
Yeah.
celebrated, and embraced. That's the key. But I mean, it's even hard to upkeep to that on a daily basis, right? But really, be very clear with your mission and your core values and a solid vision of your team, and they will embrace it as long as you're very clear with that.
I love that. No, it's so true. And I guess shifting gears a little bit, you'd mentioned that you run a business with your husband as well. And is
Yes.
that,
So I started three business by myself, and after the pandemic and in the middle of it, we've decided to merge together and work. So that was very interesting, but there's definitely some moments that is not perfect. Like you have two different personality, different skill sets. I think there's definitely some moment where we're not very nice to each other,
yes, I work with my husband as well, so I understand.
yeah, so I think what really works is you're really good friends together and you know each other so well, but having a division and very clear, this is my role and this is my role, so you don't overlap. And
Yeah.
that's where the conflict happens. Like, for example, okay, PR marketing is your skill sets, that's not mine, and I'm more the strategies and building culture and building processes and system, and then
Mm.
hand off. So I think recognizing your weaknesses and what's your strength and embracing that. And I think really that requires a lot of complimenting and embracing everyone's weakness is the key.
Ooh. You said complimenting and embracing everyone's weakness.
We can do that.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say complimenting their strengths, not their weakness.
You know, I think you have to do the other side because it can be
Yeah.
frustrating, but like really embracing and understanding that that's not their strongest stuff, so
Yeah.
um you have to have that in mind for you guys to work together.
Yes. No, I totally get that. I think maybe I think I just messed up, Kate, because I think when you said complimenting, I thought you meant like words of affirmation. So I thought you meant like, like encouraging them in their weakness. But I think you mean like coming alongside and really like being strong where they're weak and vice versa. Like you're complementary to each other, which makes so much more sense. So I'm sorry, I definitely messed up, but that makes so much sense. My husband is definitely like the structured one. He's the one that can do the processes, the procedures. He's kind of like taking us to the next level. I'm the idea person, the creative person, like all up my sleeves and get like the work done. So we definitely have like butted heads a lot, but we've also the business is doing better with both of us in it than when it was just me by myself. So not without pain points for sure. But is this the company where you have the like online masterclass?
Yes, so we launched the media company April of 2020. That's the time we launched the podcasting as well, and he's doing PR. That's really his skill set. I mean, he's the one that got me featured in a lot of publications. So it's like, hey, a lot of our friends are asking about it, and he's very good at it. It really works well with his personality, because that's a lot of relationship building and a lot of, again, it's really connecting the dots, who's the right person to contact, right? I don't
Yeah.
have patience. I mean, I'm more behind the scene, I'm more of the strategist person, so that really works for him. But yeah, so it's really fascinating, and now we're working together with another partnership about um, launching. I mean, we just launched an NFT and a metaverse last week, and this for the first time with another partner. So three of us own it with the lawyers. It's actually kind of fascinating working with two men, to be honest.
Tell me more about that. Like,
Mhm. Well, I think I have two partners that tend to think that there's a rainbow and unicorn, and I just want, let's do it. This is what we need to do. The phase one, phase two, let's do it. Chop chop. They just tend to talk longer, so that's very new to me.
yeah, I get that. Like, that's
I'm
so
more
funny.
about speed and accuracy. That's how I I perform. So it's very new for me, but I think I'm trying to be a good partner of understanding how they work. There you go.
I love that. Well, I feel like that could be a whole other topic on the difference between men and women and our work styles. But one of the things you just said is you opened an NFT in the metaverse.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
what does that mean?
I know it's so new to a lot of people. So to kind of give you a little bit of background, so the metaverse is the internet on steroids, right? And
Okay.
so what's the difference between the metaverse and what's going on right now? So there's three layers. There's web one, which is your boring website like jennifer.com, and
Uh-huh.
then web two, that's your Google where you can search, that's Facebook, you have social interaction, and then web 3.0, which is the metaverse. This is more 3D experience where like for example, you have your own physical store, you can build it in the metaverse, recreate your store, and it's going to be an immersive experience. So instead of you going to your office, you can work remotely in your office in the metaverse, and it's a whole new concept, and it's still very new, Jennifer, don't freak out.
Right.
It's all new, but that's where we are heading.
So interesting. So you said you can like build your store in the metaverse. And so is that the best thing I can think of is like a Sims game or something like where you build it, but then now instead of moving other characters around like through virtual reality, you can actually go into it?
Yes, you can build, it's limitless. So anything that you can whatever is available in the world, you can recreate it in the metaverse, right? But there's so many components to it. So NFT is one. So you're familiar with NFT or no clue at all?
No clue.
Okay, so
Okay.
NFT is a non-fungible token. That means that can't be changed. It can be either an art or a music or whatever that is, a physical item.
Okay.
So whenever you sell an NFT, there's a token that's attached to it. I mean, a utility attached to it. So, for example, if you offer a mastermind, I'm gonna create this beautiful art of maybe an animal, flower, and whoever mint or acquire that art, then they get access to your mastermind. You get it now?
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a whole new, way of people buying things. I think that's definitely the future. You can hear it in the
Mhm.
news right now. I mean, a lot of this NFT are up to the value is up to 240 grand. We call it
Wow.
the board API. So it's it's been ongoing, and it's fascinating, right? It's fascinating. So
Yes.
if it so anyone can do it if you offer something, whether it's a coaching, it's a skincare, you have clothes that you sell, you can do whatever you want with NFT, and that's part of the metaverse and the whole concept of decentralization, where I know I probably throw a lot of words to you,
No,
but
it's amazing. I'm so glad. It's, definitely a new topic for me. I think it'll be a new topic for our audience, so just grateful for the opportunity to have someone kind introduce it. But, um, so, like, you have your master class, you and your husband have a master class, but then you're saying you can sell that also through these tokens, like,
yes, yeah,
in the
yeah.
metaverse?
So you can list your NFT. The popular site is OpenSea.com. So you can list your art there, and you can create a smart contract, and then you can put utility that's attached to it. So it's either be okay, for example, celebrity. Okay, you buy my NFT.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm gonna be giving you a utility where you have 30 minutes one on one with me having a coffee. You get it now?
I do. Well, I guess one question, then we'll get back to just you specifically. But if someone like buys your master, or let's just use the example you did of the celebrity with the token, you get that, you get a 30-minute coffee with them.
Mhm.
Why would somebody do that instead of just going to said celebrity's website and purchasing a coffee date?
Okay, so the beauty of NFT is everything is recorded in a blockchain technology, right?
Okay.
And so that can be changed. Every time you can resell that NFT to someone and you make a percentage of that sale. And that NFT, depending on how valuable that is, if, for example, a person or celebrity has a community that really loves the person, he has a that has a great vision for the community, so the value of that NFT can go up.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
then does the celebrity end up making more money? Does the celebrity make the same amount no matter what? And then like the person who buys it can turn around and resell it for
yeah,
more?
yeah, you can resell it depending what is the current value, right? So the celebrity that who created it will always have I I'm not sure, right? I have to make sure
Mhm.
my data here. Probably 10%. Whoever buy it, you get a royalty fees.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, my mind, like, it hurts. It's just like, it doesn't even exist anymore. This
So,
is
for
crazy.
example, so my friend, who's my good friend of mine and business partner, he acquired, or mint is the term, this NFT of Board Ape Yacht Club. This is a
Okay.
popular one. He acquired it $850. I think that was last year around March of 2021. Now it's valued 240 grand. Well, everyone wants to acquire it, right? But there's a lot of things you can do about that art. You own the licensing rights to it, so you can maybe create a merchandise of that art and sell it to the masses. It's up to you, but being a
Interesting.
holder of that art, the Board Ape Yacht Club, so kind of you're part of the cool club where they do parties, and because you
Oh,
are part of the community, you have access to the owners of that club, that
interesting.
exclusivity that makes it special, not just the art and making money of reselling in a second market. So there's so many components of NFT. It's not just an art.
Wow. Gosh, that's crazy. Thank you so much for explaining that. I'm just like, what in the world? But you're so, I just feel like you're so educated. Like you're so in on all of this. You're saying you have a spa, you have this hotel, you have this metaverse business, master classes. Um, has that has that always been your dream to have like these multiple income streams, like these multiple revenue flows, or did it just kind of happen?
Well, I think when I first started my business, this is 2012. I started my e-commerce with $20 and I scaled it to 1 million after a year, and I sold over 8 figures after 4 years. So it was up and running for 8 years, and then all of a sudden Amazon shut down my account overnight. So that really teaches me a lesson that you can't be complacent, and if you're doing a business where it's controlled by a big giant, at any time they can shut it down for you. So
Yeah.
that is a massive lesson for me, that I cannot just rely on one source of income,
Mm,
right? Or not building a business on a rented land. You don't want to build a house on a rented land. So when you have, I'm sure people will disagree with me, but when you have a business where you rely traffic on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook,
mhm.
anytime they can shut down your account, and then what? You're done,
Good.
right?
Yeah.
So that's technically very dangerous to do. So that's the reason why I created the medical spa, because something I'm passionate about. I grew up with eczema, so there is a why behind it. And the
Mm.
hotel, I really wanted to employ as many Filipinos as I can, because it's kind of like I give back to my home
Mhm.
country, and it just gives me joy
I love that.
knowing that my staff can send their kids to school. So
Mm.
that's just way more fulfilling. So it's something that I think I just become mature of what to do, but it's not something that I didn't have a clue that I will be an entrepreneur. But I was around with a family business, so I kind of know the ins and out of it. But I did it. I did that old dirty work from failing and not knowing how to lead. It comes with mileage and experience, definitely.
I love that it comes with mileage. Well, in that too is what does your day-to-day look like? Like, are you just busy all the time, or have you kind of also like when do you have a personal life outside of business, or is it all business and you love that?
Yeah, it is intertwined. I don't believe in a concept where you have to work and then weekend is an off day. I
Yeah.
think, I try to balance my calendar, and I make this color coding where green is meetings and red is my, you know, family time, and yellow maybe my me time and
Mhm.
wellness. So I made sure that it's not all green. So every day it feels like a fun, and I have time for myself. It's very important for me. But then it took me a while to do that. I made sure I have a team that I know how to lead, and they know what they're doing, and then I have more freedom. I think for me is it's all about the time that you have for yourself. It's not about hustling and grinding every day, because it's not sustainable.
It 100% is not sustainable. Excuse me, like, not at all. I learned that the hard way too, but, it's definitely I feel it's very counterintuitive, but you actually are able to accomplish so much more and have a more fulfilled experience when you do take that time to prioritize yourself, your health, and family, and all of the things, but, yes, putting yourself first can be hard, but it's so rewarding and I feel like everybody benefits. It's like the butterfly effect from it, it just like ripples out to everybody. But you and your husband going back to your masterclass is it on helping people manage a $1 million business?
Yeah, so the concept is we help entrepreneurs to scale their business. The goal is for them to be over $1 million, right? So it is a scaling up systems where we do 4 times a year, so it's quarterly, and we do have a monthly forum meetings, because in order for you to be a well balanced entrepreneurs, you need to have a community that can understand you, who you are, and a community where you can share your struggle, whether it's personal,
Mhm.
business, or it just you need to have that whole 360 views of community around you, and that's how you'll sure it helps me a lot having a forum where I can share my struggle with no judgment, and everything is confidential. I think that's very priceless.
I love that. I agree. And for anybody who wants to work with you, who wants to be a part of, are you taking applications for the masterclass at this time, or is it closed?
Yeah, so we do have quarterly. We're always taking a mastermind attendee, and it's fun. And again, that's ties to an NFT. So anyone, because it's kind of fun having an NFT. Not only you can have fun and learn with us and collaborate, but you have an art that might technically I can't say would price the value, right? So it
Right.
depends on the demand and community, but it could be. But I'm not allowed to say that.
So it's just so interesting. I'm just like so mind blown. But where would they find you? How can they connect with you after this?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to katehancock.com. I'm super active on Twitter or Instagram. I'm still very active on Clubhouse. I have a community there of almost 100,000 entrepreneurs globally, where I do interviews different entrepreneurs or any expert in the metaverse industry.
Gosh, so interesting. Is Clubhouse still like an active platform? I haven't heard much talk of it.
Yeah, it definitely it kind of died, but if you have a community, then you have a solid community no matter what. But if you're trying to build one, or it's not like what it used to be, but again, if you have a community, it makes sense. It still is doable.
Totally makes sense. And you said you have a podcast as well, right?
Yes, I do have two podcasts again.
Two. You have two.
Yes,
Of course, you have two podcasts, Kate. I just
yes,
lied.
no, I have the Inspired by Her podcast, and then we launched the Meta Talks, where we interviewed anything Metaverse, Web3, NFT, AR, VR. I'll probably throw some weird words for you, but
Okay.
everything Metaverse. It's really fascinating, and if you're an entrepreneur, you really need to get involved with it because it is the future. So think of it like the internet in 1992, 1992. That's where we head.
1992. That
Hmm.
is just so interesting. I feel so old. I'm like, oh no, that's not like those kids. Like, what is that? That's not a thing. But I'm like, now it's like, oh my goodness, it's time to jump on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, well, Kate, that'll be like kind of the official end. So thank you so much for being on the show. But was there anything you wanted to share with the audience that we didn't dive into? Anything at all we can share now?
Yeah, absolutely. If you wanted to learn about the metaverse or NFT, you can go to metaversecollective.io. Would love to have you. Part of that is when you acquire the NFT, then you will get a masterclass about everything metaverse and having fun. If you want to learn how to launch your own NFT because it's a feature, then we will guide you with and then collaborate and learn.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, which I hope you did, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss what's next. If you really enjoyed it, I'd be super grateful if you could leave a review on iTunes or anywhere that you listen. And if you really enjoyed it, then I'd love if you'd share it with a friend. Last but not least, make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Vendor's Daughter for a behind-the-scenes look at my personal and professional life, and for what I hope is a little bit of daily inspiration as we walk this crazy journey together.